1 p.m. BULOVA, Boulevard Watch Time. This is WABC in the city of New York.
The Americans are coming. The American Revue, featuring Ethel Waters, George Beatty, and the Dorsey Brothers Orchestra with Joe Venuti. Who are the Americans? Who are the sponsors of the American Revue? Well, I'm sorry, I can't tell you now. All the sponsor has to tell you tonight is just a half hour's solid enjoyment. All I'm permitted to say is the Americans are coming. American marches ahead from Maine to Florida. Remember those 11 words. They'll mean a lot to you later on. But now on with the show. I'm going to turn this program over to George Beatty, who is known all over America as half serious and half wit. Our master of ceremonies, George Beatty.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is George Beatty broadcasting from a pair of tight shoes. It might surprise you to know that I'm not receiving 1 cent for my services here tonight. My salary will be turned over to the Automobile Finance Company. I just bought a new automobile, and the only reason I bought it was on account of the horn. It has a new kind of a musical horn with 12 notes on it. One comes due every month. You know, I hated to come in. I was standing out here on Broadway watching the taxicab drivers play a new game. It's called Pedestrian Polo. Very snappy little game. The way they play it, the taxicabs all line up, the traffic cop blows his whistle to stop, and they all start down the street, and the one that knocks over the most pedestrians wins. That's the idea of the game. Prints away the score of the game. If you knock down a man, it counts 2. A woman, 1. Female impersonators, 1.5. The other day, they hit a fellow wearing a beret. They didn't know what to mark up. One of the rules of the game is you're not allowed to hit a pedestrian when he's looking. Another rule is you're only allowed to hit a man when he's actually crossing the street. After he reaches a curb, he's no longer in play. If you hit a man and knock him into a sewer, you get credit for a hole-in-one. If you hit a traffic cop, you're presented with a striped suit with 2 pair of pants. And with this thought in mind, ladies and gentlemen, the Dorsey Brothers Orchestra offers a bit of good advice in their first number, Stay on the Right Side of the Road. Stands her husband, who has spoken 1 line in 1 show. This, he imagines, makes him an actor. This is a scene from the new Berlin and Hart success as thousands cheer, now playing in New York City. Ethel Waters, the sensation of this sensational production, is at the ironing board. Her husband is the 1-line actor who yearns to play Hamlet. A great song from a great show, sung by the one and only Ethel Waters.
does. Listen till I'm through. Since you spoke that one line in green pastures, why, there ain't no hole in you. Now you speak of Hamlet, and you says to me that the question is to be or not to be. For years you ain't been home much, and now you're on your way to become a Harlem Hamlet. Well, here's what I've got to say in parentheses. To be or not to be, that's what you've got to be or not to be, my man. To do or not to do, that's what you've got to do the things I mean you can. I hear you speaking of Ophelia, but I know you don't mean me. 'Cause if you think I'm getting to a nunnery, you're crazy, because I ain't that kind. So just make up your mind to be or not to be, my man. To be or not to be, that's what you got to be or not to be, my man. Do you hear me? To do or not to do, that's what you got to do the things I mean you can. I know John Barrymore played Hamlet in a way it should be played, but you ain't no Barrymore. Let's call a spade a spade. Remember, for years we've been apart. Come on and put down that book and start. To be or not to be, my man.
The Dorsey Brothers Orchestra. This is Romance. and gentlemen, this is your master of ceremonies, George Beatty again. People outside the radio field often wonder why we have a master of ceremonies. For that matter, people in the radio field often wonder why we have a master of ceremonies. As a matter of fact, masters of ceremonies often wonder why we have a master of ceremonies. And I'll try to explain it. The duty of the master of ceremonies is to cooperate with the other artists in his own way. By that I mean, he introduces them and gets them off to a bad start, and then pops back just in time to spoil their finish. Of course, you have to know how to do this. It takes brain work, and the brain of a master of ceremonies is a wonderful thing. It starts working the minute he gets up in the morning and never stops until he gets before the microphone. But life is a peculiar proposition. You never know what's going to happen. I read in the papers a few weeks ago of a flood in China which drowned 3,000 people. A short time later, of a riot in Calcutta, India, in which 400 were killed. Yesterday, my dog was taken down with distemper, and now the Dorsey Brothers Orchestra will play a number they wrote themselves. I guess everybody knows the song Dinah, but I wonder if they know that Dinah was first introduced and made famous by Ethel Waters. Well, it was, and here it is as only Ethel Waters can sing it.
Carolina gave me Dinah. I'm the proudest one beneath the Dixie sun. News is spreading about our wedding. I hear church bells ringing. Here's the song my heart keeps singing. Dinah, is there anyone finer in the state of Carolina? If there is, then you know her, show her. Dinah, with those Dixie eyes blazing, who wouldn't love to sit and gaze into the eyes of Dinah Lee? Yet every night, my, how I shake with pride, because my dynamite change your mind about me, change your mind about me, babe. But if Dinah ever wandered to China, I would hop on ocean liner just to be with Dinah Lee. That's That's why you hear me say, I want to wake up in the morning and hear the birdies say good morning, like I used to say good morning in my Carolina home. Oh, Dinah, with those Dixie eyes blazing, oh, love to sit and gazing, hear the eyes of Dinah Lee. Yes, every night, my how I shake with fright because my dynamite, when you get all white folks, change your mind about me. That's why I'm gonna wake up some morning, hear them ladies say good morning. I would have a notion, Liner, yes, be with Dinah Lee.
The Americans are coming. American marches ahead from Maine to Florida. And again, I have to tell you, I'm sorry, but that's all I can say. The sponsor has nothing but enjoyment to sell tonight. But remember those 11 words. They're going to mean a lot to you later on. The Americans are coming. American marches ahead from Maine to Florida. And now we have a scene. This scene is in the lobby of the Broken Arms, a most unusual hotel. Enter George Beatty.
Hey there, bellboy. Take charge of my bags while I see about a room. Where's the room clerk's desk?
I'm sorry, sir, but you'll have to talk to the head waiter. He assigns all the rooms.
The head waiter. Let's get this straight. You mean to tell me that the head waiter has charge of the room?
Yes, sir, the head waiter assigns all the rooms.
I suppose if I want something to eat, I step over to the newsstand.
Oh, no, in case you get hungry, just phone the boiler room. The engineer will fix you up.
Wait a minute. What kind of a place is this? The head waiter assigns the room and the engineer does the cooking.
I'll explain, sir, why we do this. You've been to the Ritz Hotel?
More times than I can afford.
Have you ever noticed in the Ritz Hotel that the room clerk has charge of the rooms and the head waiter is always hanging around the dining room? Have you noticed that?
Come to think of it, you're right.
That's just the point. So many hotels are like that, and we want to be different.
Oh, I get the idea. You want to get away from the beaten path. After all, you can divide head waiters into two classes. Those who look out of place in a dining room and those who look out of place any place.
Absolutely. Now, take here, for instance. Our head waiter hung around the dining room so much that people began to complain.
Well, what did they do? Have him arrested for loitering?
No, they didn't do anything like that, but they got so they wouldn't go in there anymore to write their letters.
They wouldn't go in the dining room to write their letters. Well, answer me this question. Where do they go to write their letters? The coffee shop?
They did for a while, but they complained that there was always so much hair on the floor.
Say, I don't want to pry into your personal affairs, but were you ever dropped when you were a baby?
I'll say I was, and I'll tell you how it happened. One Halloween night when I was a baby, my father was holding me up to the front window.
Too stingy to buy a pumpkin.
He was holding me up at the window, and Mother yelled that supper was ready.
And he dropped you?
Yes, sir, he dropped me right on my brother.
Right on your brother. Where was your brother at the time?
On the floor below.
Well, we won't drag your brother into this, but just to satisfy my morbid curiosity, why would there be hair on the floor of the coffee shop?
Oh, I forgot to tell you. That's where you go to get a shave or a haircut.
After that remark, I think your father not only dropped you, but stepped on you. Now I know one of us is crazy.
You're right, sir. I am. You have to be crazy to hold a job here.
Oh, I see. You take a mentality test, and if you fail, they hire you.
Oh, no. Last 4th of July, I walked in here wearing a raccoon coat, and they hired me on the spot. I was glad to get the job because I wanted to be near my uncle. He died last spring. He's been working here ever since.
Oh, wait a minute. Your uncle died last spring, and he's been working here ever since?
Sure. He has a job haunting the penthouse.
He's very lucky having a job the way conditions are. I had an uncle die 3 years ago, and he hasn't done a lick of work since. Does the job pay well? I mean, haunting places?
Well, Uncle's doing all right. He picks up quite a bit on the side.
Well, it's the first time I ever heard of a ghost having a sideline.
Well, for instance, now, last Wednesday night he had off. So he went out and haunted a house belonging to some relatives. He told me he hardly made expenses.
Well, you never get any place working for relatives.
No, you don't. That's a fact. Besides...
Pardon me. I hate to conclude this interesting conversation, but I want to get a room.
Certainly, sir. I'll take charge of your bags while the head waiter assigns you a room.
How will I find him?
In the best of health, thanks.
You know, given the proper chance, that lad would develop into a master of ceremonies, in which case he would be called upon to introduce such numbers as Sweet Madness and